He was dyslexic, dropped out of school at 16, and had no formal business training, but he saw the world not as it was, but as it could be. His name was Richard Branson. Born in Surrey, England in 1950, Richard wasn't a star student. In fact, teachers thought he was lazy, distracted, even slow. What they didn't realize was he simply saw the world differently. While his classmates read textbooks, Richard dreamed of possibilities. And by the time he turned 16, school had nothing left for him. So he dropped out with no plan B and launched a small magazine called Student. He had no office. He worked from a church basement. He cold-called companies to advertise. Most said no, but a few said yes. At 17, he interviewed celebrities like Mick Jagger. And suddenly, the boy who couldn't stay in school was now shaking hands with rock stars. But that was just the beginning. In 1970, at age 20, Richard started a record mail-order business. Why? Because he believed music should be more accessible and cheaper. Then came Virgin Records, a small record shop with beanbags, incense, and chill vibes. It wasn't like other stores. That was the point. He signed strange, raw, bold artists no one else wanted. Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells was their first big hit. Then came the Sex Pistols, then Culture Club, then Phil Collins. Virgin Records grew into a global music empire, but Richard wasn't done. The missed flight that changed everything. It was 1979. Richard was in Puerto Rico, trying to reach the British Virgin Islands, but the flight was canceled.
One name, one story, one legacy that shaped the world. Welcome to Timeless Voices, where legendary lives come to life.
No apology, no help. Just a cold announcement and frustrated passengers. Most people grumble and wait. Richard did something else. He went to the back of the airport, found a small charter plane, and asked how much to fly to the Virgin Islands. The pilot gave him the number. Richard divided that by the number of stranded passengers. Then, on a piece of cardboard, he scribbled, Virgin Airlines, $39 one way to BVI. He walked around the terminal holding that sign, like a boy selling lemonade. People laughed, but they paid. That night, Richard Branson chartered his first flight, and a thought struck him. If I can fill a plane from one airport, why can't I fill planes everywhere? That was the birth of Virgin Atlantic. Just a wild idea and boldness to match it. No investors, no industry background. The empire takes off in 1984. Virgin Atlantic's first commercial flight took off from London to New York, one plane, one route. The airline business was brutal, and a dream to challenge the giants, like British Airways. People laughed. Most startups failed. But Virgin was different. Branson brought fun into flying, mood lighting, free ice cream, personal TVs, even massages in business class. It wasn't just a flight. It was an experience. Virgin Atlantic gave passengers something they didn't know they were missing, and passengers came in droves. But success brings enemies. British Airways, the old, proud, state-backed giant, didn't like being challenged. They launched a dirty campaign. They stole Virgin's passenger lists. They spread rumors. They tried to crush Virgin before it could grow. But Richard didn't fold. He sued British Airways and won millions in court. He took the money and gave bonuses to his staff. He never forgot that business is about people. Setbacks and skyfalls, but the skies weren't always clear. In the late 1990s and 2000s, competition got fierce. Fuel prices soared. 9/11s changed aviation forever. Richard had to sell 49% of Virgin Atlantic to Singapore Airlines. Even harder, in 2007, he sold Virgin Records, the very company that made him famous, to save the airline. It was painful. Like letting go of his firstborn. He cried when the papers were signed. But to Richard, the airline was the future. Even when business hurt, he stayed bold. He launched Virgin Trains, Virgin Mobile, Virgin Galactic to send tourists into space. Not all ideas worked. Some flopped. Some never took off. But he kept creating, kept dreaming. Because to Richard, business wasn't about money. It was about changing the game. The heart behind the billionaire Branson lived on Necker Island, a paradise he bought in his 20s. He held meetings in hammocks. He wore flip-flops to press conferences. He once jumped off buildings, flew hot air balloons, even crashed in the ocean. He wasn't just rich, he was alive, and he believed the real currency of life is adventure. He said, "Greater than you don't learn to walk by following rules, you learn by doing and by falling over." Legacy beyond the sky today, Virgin Atlantic flies to major cities around the world. It stands tall beside global giants, to a global airline, to a business icon, and the boy who once couldn't read became a knight, Sir Richard Branson, from a canceled flight. From a learning disorder, Richard didn't just build planes. He built hope for misfits, for dreamers, for anyone told you can't. So next time life cancels your flight, maybe it's not the end. Maybe it's the beginning of something no one saw coming. Maybe your empire is waiting at gate 27.